nobody like this. You ain't seen nobody like this. You hear my sound all over town singing. Whoa. You ain't seen nobody like this. You ain't seen nobody like this. You hear my sound all over town singing. Whoa. I think there's something in the water. If you wanna take a sip, but be careful what you wish for. The faint of heart can't handle it. Everybody wants a piece of someone else's prize, but it ain't free, it don't come cheap. Only the strongest will survive. You ain't seen nobody like this.
Good evening and welcome to San Antonio Soccer Roundtable. My name is Harry Austin. Rafa, how are you? I saw last night you braved the rain, sleet, snow. What else do we have here in San Antonio?
Tornadoes, the blizzard.
I think you saw Warren and who was the other team that you saw?
Warren and Harlan, and then I did stay for about a half of the boys Sotomayor and Holmes game, which I think halftime when I left it was 2-0 Sotomayor. And that's when all the rain came in after that.
So we were going to have representatives on from Geneva, but unfortunately scheduling conflict delayed that. We were going to have them on last week, but scheduling conflict here. So hopefully next week we'll have the Geneva program on to kind of discuss some of the success that they have had with a couple of players. And let's be honest, the girls team's looking pretty good. Once we look into the standings here, they had a very good victory this week. We'll see if they can continue it. But your initial thoughts on the week, Rafa? Anybody that stood out to you, or as far as program, player, anything along those lines?
This is just the start of the the district for many of the teams. I know, which we're going to probably, like I said, we're going to cover. So we had some, already one game or two games in. There were some teams that really kind of shined these past 2 weeks as far as tournaments and showcases. And, what you can say, we saw some pretenders and we saw some new contenders, and it's exciting. It's kind of little, the usual suspects are doing what they need to be doing. But there's some surprise teams. There's some dark horses that may kind of throw a monkey wrench into the season. So that makes it, like I said, even more, like I said, exciting. Looking forward to see how this season turns out. I think one of the, surprises was on the girls' side. That TAF was heavily favored for the girl, for their district. They had a 0-0 tie with Brennan. So that's a good result for Brennan. And like I said, those two teams, including with O'Connor, they've been battling out for supremacy in 29 6A. So, that when they play each other, it's always going to be a dogfight. And I did see some messages right now. Now, though there's some games going on, there's some lightning delays because it is pouring outside again. So hopefully they'll get to finish those games tonight.
I was lucky enough to attend AJ's Stevens John Jay JV version match here this week, and which Stevens pulled out a solid 3-1, and AJ had a good assist on the second goal here, so good control by him. But as a Stevens fan and a John Jay fan, Stevens got roughed up on the varsity 5-2, and like I said here, John Jay doing some really great things. They had a good football season. And it's carried over to the soccer season as well here, both on the boys and the girls side. I think it was the ladies that upset O'Connor for got their first victories on there. So it's somebody that's got kids in John Jay and Stevens. That's been an interesting matchup this year when it comes to Jay and Stevens. Where Anna goes to, John Jay, part of the Science and Engineering Academy. But was fun, but we were able to get there, get back, and it was a lot of fun for that here. And like I said here, shout out to the one referee. I probably should have done a little bit of research, but there was only one referee, and I know there is a referee shortage going on, not only here in San Antonio, but nationally. So if you can, or if you're able to, or if you have the time, like he did a great job. Both teams ended up getting a red card, and they were valid red cards. Last man defending fouls here. So kudos to him, refereeing the match all by himself for that here. So let's get into some tap standings, and then we put together a preview, a playoff preview, our top 4 teams in each of the San Antonio divisions. Steve, our friend that does the bracketology with us, put his in. Unfortunately, Coach Kano cannot do that this year just because he is a of MacArthur, and don't want him to get in trouble by doing something along those lines. We do need to see if we can get him on the line as a coach and put him under the microphone.
We don't want to be like the same situation like Harbaugh in Michigan and all that. So
maybe we need to wait until he plays Alamo Heights if we want to go that far here. Steve mentioned an email here. Can you do it? I'm going to send Steve an email because he might want to join us here. Hold on.
Yeah, that one game you mentioned about the J girls beating the O'Connor girls, that was a surprise, and I think could that be like a coming out party for the J girls to take, because they were very competitive last year. This just fell a little short in district play. Could this be their year? To finally kind of break through and get into the playoffs and even win a playoff game too. And they got the talent, so keep an eye on them.
Sorry, I'm typing the email for Steve. Copy this link here. I put it in the chat here.
Then also on the boys' side, there was a big game. Yeah, on the boys' side, there was a big game also last week with Brandeis and Lee. Brandeis boys came out with a 2-0 win. They're at Gus, so very competitive game. Like I said, pretty much what you saw kind of like last year, kind of the back and forth. That district stacked. But there might be some surprises this year too, so which we'll get into later.
So let's take a look here. Tap standings. We'll start out with the ladies here. Region 2 or Region 1, Division 2. I hate how UIL and TAPS can't organize the same way. Right here, it makes it a little bit more challenging on us here to figure that out. St. Agnes 4-0 had a weak kind of non-conference record. St. Prius 4-1. Antonian 3-1. And Carnarvon 3-1. And then San Antonio and Carnarvon. Houston Carnarvon 2-4 when it comes to district. Tomball and the villages here. Your thoughts on the Houston schools at this point having the better records, compared to the San Antonio private schools?
Yeah, St. Agnes and St. Pius the 10th, they've always have strong programs out of for the private third taps in the Houston area. So Rick kind of expected this to be in there in the mix, especially in the district title race. I thought Antonio too was probably be able to contend. Which this still are. Like I said, they're in striking distance. If they can get a couple key wins, against St. Agnes and Pius, if they can hold ground here at home, that'll get them back up into to the district title contention.
That's actually this week. This St. Agnes, it travels to Antonian on the 26th, which is Friday, right? Because today's Wednesday, Friday. And then they play Carn Edward at 5 o'clock on the 27th, which I'm assuming St. Prius travels with them, right?
They're probably playing them on the Friday night.
25th. Oh, no. So, no. Actually, they don't play Antonian. They come and play the 25th with Ignard Edward, or Carterward Academy. No, so actually, no, they're not traveling together. I wonder which is the.
So that might be their bye week. So there are 7 teams in that district, so it could be their bye week.
That's kind of surprising because usually there's 2 schools that do travel.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
together.
Over here and vice versa. Yeah.
Oh yeah, so it's Concordia Lutheran Tomball. So that would be there. So for Antonian, if they could get the upset over St. Agnes, that could tighten the race even more.
Yeah, and like I said, the other surprise has been in the Carnivore girls here in San Antonio. Last year struggled a little bit, but like I said, real good record. Like I said, not far from also contention. If they can get some key wins, they also could be in the title race too. But I think more likely those 4 teams will be your top 4 seeds going into the TAPS playoffs.
Moving on to Region 2 Division 4, or Region 2 District 4, TMI 881, 4-1 in district. San Antonio Christian 3-0. St. Mary's 1-2. St. Anthony's 1-2, and Laredo St. Augustine still struggling for that here. Welcome, Steve. Sorry, I didn't see your message until later here, and I put it in the bracketology chat on social media.
Yeah, no problem. No problem. Thanks for having me.
Welcome. Any surprises on here? St. Mary's, looks at here, looks to be a little bit struggling after Coach Cano's left here a little bit. But TMI and San Antonio Christians seem like off to a strong district schedule.
Yeah, if you remember from last year, it was pretty much a marathon between TMI and San Antonio Christian. It was neck and neck, and with San Antonio Christian pulling off the district title. It's going to come down to those 2, and then the battle for the other 2 playoff spots. More, like I said, more like it's going to be St. Mary's Hall and St. Anthony's Catholic School. But depending seeding, it's going to depend there. It's important with, like I said, getting the top one, the first and second seed in order to host. With the TAPS playoffs, whoever the top seeds, they get to host a playoff game. So if you're towards the bottom, the 3rd or 4th spot, you're going to have to travel. So I know Coach Connor mentioned last year not to Houston for the playoff game. So
yeah, he wasn't happy about that.
Yeah. So it's like I said, it's still early on, like I said, but I think more than likely, so your 2 favorites, the battle for the title is going to be TMI and San Antonio Christian.
Moving on to Region 3, District 4. Probably the surprise of TAPS, at least in my opinion. Geneva School 12-0-1, 4-0 in district. And as I mentioned, hopefully next week or next couple weeks, we'll be able to get them on to kind of highlight the program. New Braunfels Christian Academy, technically second, 3-1 in district. JP2, first loss, which was to Geneva, 2-1 in district. The Atonement, 1-2. San Marcos Academy and Holy Cross, and the JP2 out of Corpus hasn't updated anything as of yet. But Geneva's looking special. At least I haven't been able to see them, but you look at what they're posting. We've got a little bit of insight into the program.
Mm-hmm.
It looks like this isn't going to be. I'm not saying it's normally a cakewalk, but normally JP2, wins the district pretty convincingly. I don't think that's going to be the case this year.
No, this year's even if you look at JP2's record, they're 18-1-1, but the game they played Monday, Geneva hammered them, and they went, like I said, they won 5-2. and they had a 3-0 lead, I think, at the half. And so kudos to, I know this year, when we started, kind of the start of, when we started the first episode, we talked about how this was going to be probably like a little tighter race this year than the last, because GB2 has been dominating this district, and they are the state finalists. But this could be the Geneva's year. They made a statement Monday. They took care of business. I know, like I said, I'm sure the second go around when they play, I'm sure JP2 is going to be ready. They're going to try to hold ground there at their home field and try to get that win back. But you also got to miss in New Braunfels Christian too. You can't sleep on them. They're still in striking distance. So those are the three teams. Like I said, it's going to come down to who wins this district title. But right now, Geneva's got the edge right now with that big statement win on Monday.
Any thoughts on this district here, Steve, at all?
No, I don't know too much about TAPS. I know that Shirts John Paul has been the front runner the last few years, and now it seems like it's maybe the tide's kind of switching, especially with that big result that Geneva had on Monday night. So yeah, I mean, I think Rafa kind of described it perfectly.
So looking at the schedule, there may not be a rematch, because it looks like, looking at the schedule, Atonement, or Geneva plays Atonement and then New Braunfels Christian Academy on the 30th. But then it goes to that district tournament, and I think that's a little bit more unique, where you've kind of talked about this, Rafa, in the UIL side, instead of kind of having that second round where where they go more into a district tournament. So that's where they'll probably face. Now, I don't know if that's at a certain, if it's just at the higher seed or if it's at a central location. That I'm not sure, because the dates are pretty quick: 8th, 12th, 15th, and 19th of February. But for TAPS, and that's the reason why we really want to kind of focus on them before we get to the UIL. Their season's really coming to a close in the next week or two, depending on there, before they get into that district tournament for that.
Is that kind of like the and I'm asking because I don't really know. Is that kind of like the conference tournaments in NCAA basketball? Okay.
Yeah. So I think, like I said, they just do one round, and then whoever wins as far as the records, that's how they do the seeding. And like I said, and whoever has the highest seed more likely has home field advantage. And I think that win Geneva got Monday, gets them a foot into possibly hosting every single, district tournament game, and it's gonna help them out. Hopefully, like I said, for them to land that number 1 seed going into the playoffs.
And I take it New Braunfels Christian and Geneva, they still have to play. Is that what
Yeah.
When is that?
January 30th, senior night in Geneva there in Bernie for that year. So that is still pending. JP2 has actually Geneva controls their own destiny. Tomorrow they play at New Braunfels Christian. So they'll play them, and then New Braunfels Christian will play Geneva. So I guess New Braunfels Christian controls their own destiny, and then San Marcos Academy for there. So looks like JP2's got 3 matches all away, which is kind of surprising. No home matches according to their schedule. So that seems kind of odd for that here, but
I'm sure we'll get more clarification, like I said, when we speak to Geneva's coach to see what how the setup is first with their district and that tournament as well.
So, but I do know that this time, for TAPS is kind of that last 2 weeks of their season, when it comes to that here. So, congrats to Geneva, though. Like I said here, the Lady Eagles. So far on an outstanding season. I know there's 2 players that we're going to talk to that have maybe at 60 and 110 goals by the time we speak to them, because they did have a game where they put some numbers up since we last heard on the discussion here. But moving on to the boys here, Region 1, Division 2. Possibly Rafa's number 1 in the power ranking. I'm just gonna put that out there. Central Catholic 10-2, 3-0 in district. Houston St. Prius 11-3, 3-1. St. Thomas 11-3, 3-3, 1-1 in district. The Villages 2-3-1, 1-2. Antonian, who got off to that great start, and then I was kind of promoting them to Rafa 8-5-4, 0-3 in district, and then Tomball. Long year already, but Central Catholic and the 2 Houston schools, that's going to be a dogfight to see how that finishes out.
Yeah, we can say with Coach Rule, he's really on his first year, kind of not missing a beat with with the Central Catholic program. Some good quality wins. I know they went up to a tough showcase up in the Dallas area. They got a couple losses, but it's just helps them to get better, and that's what they're looking for, because they know they have a dogfight with St. Thomas and Pius X, and they're really gunning to get that that district title, but also get that number 1 seed, and see it'll lead them back to kind of the promised land, kind of back when the Jose Gallegos era, when he took them to those title games. So. A little disappointed with Antonian. Like I said, I had some high hopes of them be contending this year. They're really in a hole at 0-3, and they're going to have to really kind of pull some wins here, maybe some upset wins too, to try to creep back into the playoff spots.
So January 27th, Central Catholic plays St. Thomas at 3 p.m. at Bob Benson 66 Stadium. February 2nd versus Antonian, and then February 9th at 7 o'clock against St. Prius. So they'll have they got Concordia Lutheran before then on the 26th, but then 3 tough matches, all in a row, that 27th, 2nd, 9th for there, but all at home, all at Bob Benson. So they do travel to St. Thomas on February 16th. For there here, so two big matches coming up for Central Catholic that will decide this region, or this district. Pardon me.
Yeah.
Moving to Region 2, Division 4. Rafa said to watch out for them, and well, they've updated some scores, and we're watching. Brownsville St. Joseph 8-0, 6-0. Before it was TMI 4-1, because they didn't have any. Brownsville didn't have anything on the board at the time. Rafa, you called it. Brownsville St. Joseph stepped up and looked to be just as tough as last year. TMI still doing very well, 4-1. San Antonio Christian 3-2. The boys on St. Mary's 2-2, and then Laredos and St. Anthony struggling in district. When it comes to that, and then of course Victoria St. Joseph. No record of any results from them at this point here, but tip of the cap to you on telling us, a couple of weeks ago to watch out for Brownsville.
Yeah, they've always, since they had and they started their soccer program there at St. Joseph, they haven't missed a beat. They've been one of the better competitive teams there from the South Texas area. I mean, they can go toe to toe with like teams like Porter, Rivera, Veterans Memorial. So they like I said, they have talent. They're coached well, and like I said, they're going to be a team to watch, and this could be their year to make that run and finally get that state title. I know, so they still got some tough games coming up. I'm sure TMI is not going to roll over them. So is San Antonio Christian. Like I said, they probably have something to say here. Try to kind of get a blemish on their record and still contend for that district title and get a higher seeding. As far as the last spot, I still think St. Mary's Hall is going to get that last spot. I think they'll have no problem taking care of St. Augustine and St. Anthony. So the more likely those are going to be your 4 teams going into the TAS playoffs.
So, and for Brownsville, if you did want to catch them, February 6th, 2 p.m. at San Antonio Christian. February 10th at 4 o'clock at San Antonio TMI. And then they do also face February 13th at St. Mary's for that here. So if you did want to catch them, they will be in town, and especially that TMI match on February 10th, 4 o'clock. Would be probably a pretty attractive match to be able to go to because that's going to decide who wins this district. Moving on to Region 3, D4. I got a little bit of egg on my face because at the time when we initially did these, JP2 was struggling. Now they're 4-0 in district, so that's about on me. New Braunfels Christian Academy 3-0. Geneva rough out of conference with 3-1 in district. Our Lady of the Hills Hawks 1-0. Corpus Christi, Ignarwood, and JP2. Corpus Christi 0-2. Holy Knights still a struggle in the Atonement Academy, a struggle in district, but JP2 on the boys' side has kind of stepped up from the early season struggles.
Yeah, but I think they recently actually a little update. Actually, they're now 4-1 because Geneva did beat them on Monday night 3-0 at Geneva.
Still hasn't been updated.
Yeah, so Geneva's at 4. So Geneva and Shirts are tied at 4-1.
Okay,
we're not sure. So they're tied. I'm sure. I don't know what New Braunfels Christian, if they have the same record or not. I don't think they've updated them yet, but. Yeah, Geneva got a big.
Well, on the website here, it's saying Geneva lost 3-0 to JP2.
No, I have it right here on Twitter.
Okay.
So
they may have it wrong on the site here, but
yeah,
based on here, January 22nd, a 3-0 loss for Geneva to.
JP2. Yeah, Geneva. It says here Geneva got a big win over JP2. So those two are tied for, because of virtual tie for first place in that district. So that's going to come down, like I said.
Well, actually, they would be ahead because right now Geneva's got a loss. When if they got the victory, they would be 4-0 and Shirts would be 3-1. So
they'll be ahead. So they're ahead, and they'll be, like I said, really gunning for that number 1 seed to host all those tournament games for the district tournament games as well.
And January 30th, they play New Braunfels Christian, at Geneva School. So that would be a big game on January 30th. Right here, pending the result of that JP2. They play New Braunfels Christian tomorrow at New Braunfels Christian for that here. So. Still some work for JP2 on the boys' side if they want to get back into it.
Yeah.
So I think that's it. Oh no, there's one more, right? Yeah, that's it. So thoughts on the TAP schedule? Anything that kind of stands out to you? I know we talked about the Geneva girls, and it sounds like we need to be talking about the Geneva boys as well. For that here, which we kind of highlighted. Anybody else? The Brownsville team, you've been promoting, and then of course Central Catholic, is the powerhouse. We'll see when the RAFA 15 comes out next week or the following week. We'll have to see what next week.
I got a chance to see Central in early January, I believe. And they're coming back for a deep run to state again. Not only are they, got a solid starting 11, but they also have, depth, which is always what you're, kind of looking for, especially getting later in the season and such. So the other thing about them, Rafa had mentioned it earlier, is buddy of mine, Coach Walter Rule. That game actually had his 500th win, so that was pretty neat to be there. The stadium over at Heroes announced that, and that was a game against Lee, another San Antonio powerhouse. So, and a convincing.
Don't call it an upset.
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't an upset. Like I said, it's just two powerhouses. You know,
Yeah,
they're
and
powerhouse
to be fair
programs.
to Lee, that was their first
Game.
game of the season, and so what a game to go, first for open up against Central Catholic, right? So and they kind of hung in there at the first part of it, but then you can just kind of see the chemistry that it was already built and developed with Central. Of course, their season starts about a month and a half
That
earlier
played-
than
They had 7 games in.
yeah. So that chemistry was already kind of developed for Central Catholic, but it looks like Coach Rule has them heading in the right direction as well. And it's going to be cool to see where they end up this year. I know that it almost reminds me of the Spurs in 2014, that redemption after losing in the finals. For them, they were right there last year, and I know that the returning seniors want to get back to that state title and finish it off. So
How do you stack them up compared to like the Jose Gallegos teams that did win the state titles? Are they at that caliber, or near, or they're just as close to it?
So to be honest, I never saw them play again with when they had Gallegos, but I wouldn't put them up there just yet because they're you got to have the hardware, so can they do it? Absolutely. Yet to be determined, and also to me they had the stronger team in the final against, I believe it was Prestonwood, but that Prestonwood was just gritty, tough. And that being said, they only had 12 players. I think they have one bench player that game, and then it went into extra time and PKs, and so yeah, it was a tough finish for them. But like I said, it's kind of like the way the Spurs ended their 2013 season and 2014. They got their redemption. So, but yeah, that's what I had to say about the Taps. And then the other thing was, that might be a match to go watch February 10th with that Brownsville St. Joseph team coming to town against TMI. So that would be if I'm available, I'll definitely try to make that one.
So moving on for the first year, we've done the bracketology for what, 3 years, 4 years? 3 years. This will be the 4th year. We're going to try to do playoff predictions ahead of time. So I've got this on a sheet here. So we'll be able to see who is right, who is wrong. I will say I'm probably the one that's more of the fan. I don't get out to as many games just with work and then following AJ. I know Steve and Rafa goes out and sees quite a bit. And I know Steve with his academy coaching has experience with a lot of local players around our side of town, at least. So it'll be kind of interesting to see how this kind of shapes out as far as the predictions. I tried talking Coach Kano into doing it, but he didn't want to go all Jim Harbaugh, as Rafa said here.
He doesn't need any suspensions. I think he's
no
good.
Sanctions from the NCAA or the UIL.
UIL,
yeah. Because these are all so important, let me tell you.
Right.
So starting out for a District 26. So this is the order that it finished last year. Bernie, Davenport, Fredericksburg, Wimberley, Canyon Lakes, Bandera, Great Hearts, North Oaks. Rafa went. You want to explain yours, Rafa?
Yeah, just like what Steve mentioned about Central Catholic's redemption season. I think this is Bernie's redemption season, and when we actually did get to see them play at the Alamo Heights tournament, and they beat a 6A Waxahachie team, and they took it. It was a back and forth, but they ended up taking control, and I think they have revenge on their mind. I think they got kind of the shaft last year in that regional final, Just them playing late in that semifinal game. I don't think they were. I think they were just kind of out of gas. I think Coach Strong really has them focused, and they're going to repeat again as district champs. And they're to me, they are the top team in Region 4 for 4A, and they're, like I said, they're out. Like I said, they're out for revenge this year, and just keep an eye on them. They're going to do a lot of great things, this coming season. And then second, Davenport. I think Davenport's great, another great team. They're gonna, like I said, they're not gonna roll over to Bernie. That's gonna be a great matchup when they face each other. So hopefully we'll get a chance to watch that game. Third, Fredericksburg. I think they have enough talent to get that third spot. And then the fourth spot, I'm going with Wimberley. I think Wimberley just has enough talent to get that. I think they have the slight edge over Canyon Lake, and I think they're gonna get that fourth spot.
I will say for Steve's, if you notice, his is in alphabetical order because his was just because originally when we did this, it was just, hey, who do you think is the top 4? So he just went alphabetical in a nice order, which made it real nice. On mine, I kind of went through Bernie. I think the obvious choice. I went Fredericksburg, just because last year they were kind of close. So far, non-conference, they've done a little bit better than Davenport now. Rafa will probably say, well, who have they played? And we'll see on that here. To me, to be honest with you, I went with Wimberley just because of the tradition, the historic history that they have. But I wouldn't mind seeing Bandera sneak in for that 4th slot, but I just couldn't pull the trigger on it just because they don't have the history. And unfortunately, Canyon Lake, just off to a struggling start this year for the here so far. But Steve, you're 4. I know it's the same of ours, but any feedback that you want to provide on yours?
Yeah, I think we just have one that's different. I think it's the Canyon Lake for myself.
Yeah, you have Canyon Lake in there. That's right, you do.
Instead of Fredericksburg. And that's just due to the fact that I think that I saw some results for Fredericksburg and for Canyon. I just, it was just a gut feeling that I had for Canyon Lake to get in. Of course, Bernie, I've got them, winning the district. Wimberley, y'all, mentioned it earlier. Just they're usually pretty strong, as well as and Davenport is, I think that they'll be one of the top 4 teams in this district, but we'll see.
Moving on to 26 on the girls' side. I'll go first. Bernie, Davenport, Canyon Lake, and I went with Bandera, kind of as a surprise for that here. For that here, I know just to kind of be different because there's always surprises, and Bandera's had a decent year for that here. So they were kind of my team over Wimberley because I just didn't want to be chalk like everybody else for it here on this one here. Steve, you want to go next?
Sure. Yeah. I'm going, if I did have kind of, to rank them, I would probably go Bernie first. Second would be probably Davenport. Third would be Wimberley, and then Canyon Lake. So I think that would be the way that I would kind of rank those in to get into the playoffs. But we shall see.
Rafa, yours?
I think we may have co-district champs this year. I think Davenport and Bernie may end up splitting home and home. So I could see the district title won by both. I do see Wimberley probably the best third best team in that district, and then Canyon Lake finishing off the 4th. Fredericksburg, keep an eye on them. They could sneak up and get that 4th spot. I think they're going to be the dark horse of that district. Mm-hmm. But this is probably the toughest district for 4A girls soccer. You got 3 powerhouses in here. Like I said, I know Wimberley's kind of not saying rebuilding. This is a little young, but they're still a threat. They can, any team can beat anybody in this district. So, but I think in the end, I think that I could end up seeing like I said, co-district champs between Davenport and Bernie.
And this is probably something I should have done, because I know some districts don't do ties. I don't know if this district does or doesn't for that here, but to me that could be a key part of how the top four shakes out, if there is any draws, between the top teams or teams at the bottom or mid tier here.
Yeah, and you got two teams that in this district for the girls, you got two teams with Davenport and Bernie who actually played in the regional final last year. So, so if whoever is second, and you really want to win district, right? Because of the fact that whoever gets second and whoever gets third then has to face each other on one side of the bracket.
In the quarterfinal.
Yeah, and whereas the number one seed would have to, then possibly face the fourth seed. But, providing other, districts, don't knock one of these teams off. So, but yeah, you ideally want to be district champion for a couple reasons. You want to be able to say you're district champion, but also you don't want to play a second or a third seed, or in the court.
Well, you want to start out with that number 4 seed for in that first round, anyways.
Right.
And I know that can vary depending on the region, because there's some regions like this one where a 4 seed is probably a 2 or 3 seed, or 2 or 1 seed, and possibly in other districts as well. So that's also a key factor.
Yeah, that's true as well.
And what may come down to also this is probably coaching too. Davenport does have a brand new coach, and we'll see. Right now they're 7-2, and we'll see how they adapt to his style of play. And if they can get a piece together, we'll see, like I said, we'll see coming up when they get to district. We'll see how that pieces together. And who's to say those are probably the two teams we could see in the regional final again. I'm sure there's a couple, Callan and maybe Corpus Christi Luna may have a little say on that, but I think these are probably, because these are the cream of the crop teams for Region 4.
Well, because 26 plays 27, right, in the playoffs?
25 and 26.
Oh, 25.
So that'll be your Austin area.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So speaking of 27, to me, this is, when you're looking at the standings, kind of a mess when it comes to the standings right now. Steve, you want to go first? I know yours is in alphabetical order for that here, but you want to go first, and then Rafa, and then I'll finish up on this one here, so that way we rotate who starts.
Yeah, so if I was ranking these, I would go, Lavernia. They had a good couple seasons. Second would go Gonzalez, probably second. Kennedy, third, and the San Antonio Women's Leadership would be fourth. But watch out for Memorial as well. They could be another team that could maybe try to slide into the playoff spot here or there. Rafa, yours?
So I have, for me, my number one probably the outright district chance, more likely going to be Lavernia. They've played a tough non-district schedule, which is only going to make them better. Especially if they get deep in the playoffs, and they may have to, like I said, they could have a third round game versus Bernie or Davenport. So they have, like I said, those tough games are helping them get prepared for that. I think my number two, I'm going to give Kennedy a slight edge over Gonzalez, because Kennedy has played a little tougher schedule than Gonzalez. But both teams, like I said, I want to be surprised if those teams split, home and home. And then the last, it's going to be a dogfight between those four teams, but I'm going to give Yoakum the edge. I think Yoakum's kind of really built their program, and I think they've come a long way, and I think they'll finally get through and get a playoff, that last playoff spot.
So I went with Lavernia just because, even though their record right now, when we go to the standings here, we go through real quick. They're right now technically at the bottom of District 27, but I think it's because of who they've played. One thing that stuck with me with Rafa is with Gonzalez is the grit, and how they play is a little bit unique, and especially having to travel out there. It's a little bit different than playing, here in San Antonio. So I went with them. Kennedy, I think we all kind of like here, maybe not as much as Livonia. But I went with Memorial. But to me, it was, just being honest with you, it was a pick it out of the hat basically type situation, just because, Yoko, Memorial, what was the other one? San Antonio Young Women's Leadership. It's going to come down who to me, out of those three, who can pick up the most points. Out of those three for that here, but
and ties, come into play as well. If you're down a goal here or there, a tie's sometimes a victory. Just get points as much as possible, especially for those teams anywhere from 3, 4, 5, and 6. You accumulate those points to get get the points basically.
Winning on the road is going to be the key. If you can sneak a couple road wins or even a tie, that's going to come. That could really, change a lot of things in the standings and come in the long run. And I've seen that in the past. I remember one year, we won some pretty big away games, and that really kind of propelled us again to get into contention for that district title. My first year coaching, so. That you keep an eye on that to see who is kind of like the road warrior is going to be able to steal points especially from the upper teams too.
Yeah,
and that may come a long way to sneak into the playoffs.
Right. And I'm just gonna call out Rafa because he went with chalk with the playoffs last year. I'm just saying, at least me and Steve kind of changed things up a little bit.
We flipped a couple coins, right?
You're going to say something before I interrupted you, Steve?
Yeah, no, just saying that, I think it was last year where, a game like Warren and Taft, where we were Taft was on this streak and Warren tied him. And that was like, hey, wow, that stuff like that, where you can earn a point, that just helps you out, later on in the standings and such, whereas everyone else was losing to Taft and, Warren gained a point out of that. So, yeah, I mean, and making sure that you take care of business against the teams that you should take care of business against, and earn the 3 points that you feel like you should be earning the 3 points. So, give it all you got each and every match. It's district time.
Rafa, you want to take the lead on the District 27 for the boys?
Sure. Well, last year, remember, this was a dogfight with 3 teams. It came down to Livonia. We all thought Livonia was going to pretty much run away with it, but
just like Memorial, we did this year.
Yeah, like with Memorial and Kennedy dropping down from 5A to 4A, they really kind of made a statement on theirs, and it came down to the last couple games. And I think Livonia kind of learned. I think this season they've kind of learned. Okay, we are in a real competitive district, but the 4 teams I have picked, here, I'm picking Livonia to win the district. It's going to be tight. I think it's going to be tight with them and Memorial, but I think they kind of figured them out. I think Livonia's got a tough non-district schedule. They're doing well. I'll pick Memorial as a second. My sleeper team for third is going to be Fox Tech. They've started really well this year, and I've known the coaching staff there, and I've actually, when Fox Tech started their soccer program again, they're all freshmen. Now they're a majority juniors and seniors, so they've got some experience, and so this could be their. Don't sleep on this team. Don't take them lightly. Like I said, they could sneak up on you, but I think this is the year they make the playoffs. I think they get the 3rd seed. I think Kennedy last year too. They had a great run. I think maybe graduation might have hurt them a little bit, but I think they'll still get that 4th spot. But keep an eye also on Gonzalez too. I think they could be the dark horse, and they could, if they can knock off some of the topper teams, they can probably get that last part of the playoffs. But those are going to be my 4 teams for the playoffs.
Hey, Steve, did it sound like that Rafa wanted my picks, where I went Livonia, Fox Tech, Memorial, and Gonzalez? That's kind of what I heard.
Yeah.
Rafa already made my story for me, so go ahead, Steve.
Pretty much, yeah. Now, so for myself, the way I would rank them would be, Lavernia would be 1. 2 would probably be last year's district champion, Memorial. And then I would go 3 Kennedy and Fox Tech 4. So and just in regards to Fox Tech, they got some playoff exposure last year. I think they played Floresville,
Yeah.
and it was a 4-2 game. So for them to get a couple goals in there, they kind of got a little taste for that, and it's a big achievement for a school like that to make the playoffs, but not only that, build upon that and gain that experience and bringing those, juniors and seniors back to, see what damage they can do. Maybe it's not a 4 seed, maybe it's a 3 seed or even higher. So, that's great. Great to see that program back. I remember we used to play against them and we would always have a tough, I went to Jefferson here in San Antonio and they'd always give us a really good game, no matter where they were on the standings. So, it was, it's good to see them back.
So here's a question for you, Rafa, and I know last year you kind of highlighted this, but you mentioned this district was kind of created last year where you had, was it Fox Tech and Memorial that went down, or 2 teams went down, but also
Kennedy.
Kennedy, but also Gonzales and Yoakum moved in. You mentioned playing kind of at Gonzales and at Yoakum, kind of how it's a little bit different than playing, kind of here in San Antonio. Can you kind of explain that again? Because that's really kind of where I went through. Because this is year 2 of Gonzales in this district here, so I think they'll be better adjusted. They'll have a better feel for the conference this year or the district this year compared to last year.
Yeah, for them, like I said, they're gonna have to. Like I said, for them is the traveling, and I can kind of relate to them. I know when I was at Del Rio, pretty much when we were in district, every Saturday we were coming here for our away game. So, and then the north side teams only come one time to our stadium. So, for them, like I said, Gonzales in the past they've done well. In the other districts they're in, they've made the playoffs, and actually 1 year they did make a deep run. This year they're trying to kind of get things together. They've had some good wins, but going into a district here, especially with 2 teams dropping down from 5A to 4A, it's a little tough because of numbers. And Gonzales is a small town, like it's a one high school town. Not a lot of students there, maybe compared to maybe like Kennedy Memorial, even Lavernia too, and Fox Tech. So. But this is a fun district because last year we thought one team was going to run with it, but Memorial had other thoughts, and Memorial had Lavernia's number last year, and so this year I'm sure, like I said, Lavernia's, I think we're going to be more prepared this year, and I think they have something to prove that this coming season.
So moving over to District 28 boys, Floresville. I think all of us are probably going to say they're the favorites here. I went kind of a little bit chalk with Uvalde in the second slot, Pleasanton and Hondo through there here. I think with Somerset, Pearsall, and Poteet, still young programs that are still kind of finding their way for that here. But like I said, I know that's how I went. I went the Rafa route and looked at who was there last year. Haven't seen a lot of the development, from year to year, that historical for Somerset and Poteet. And this is year 2 for Pearsall. And, remember Pearsall last year didn't play a non-conference schedule, and they just started in district, which I think put them a little bit behind the things here. Looking at this year, they did play 1 game, which I guess is an improvement, but like I said, so to me it'll be kind of interesting to see if any Somerset, Pearsall, or Poteet can make the top 4. Can make the top 4, but to me, I think we're probably still at least a year or so away out from that. Steve, your thoughts?
Yeah, so for if I was to rank these high schools, it would probably be Floresville 1, Yeah, Pleasanton 2, Somerset 3, and the way it is. So just Floresville, I've had experience against playing against them. They've got I want to say it's a newer club out there called FTK, Flowtown Kicks. So one of my teams last year played against them in one of the Sassel League here in San Antonio. So they've got some good players over in Floresville. So it doesn't surprise me that they won district last year and faced off against Fox Tech in that first round. So I've got Floresville 1. Pleasanton is actually they've had a soccer program over there for close to like 20 years. I know like a league, I should say. I don't know if their high school has been playing for that long, but I know that they've had a soccer league out there for going on 20 plus years. So they've got a lot of experience out there and built a little bit of a soccer community. Somerset is one of the ones that I kind of put out there just due to the fact that I don't feel like some of these newer high schools are there yet. So, Somerset's kind of been around for a little bit. So I put them in there, and then Uvalde as well. So, yeah. And Uvalde, are they the Lobos or the Coyotes? I guess it's kind of the same thing.
The girls are the Lobos and the boys are the Coyotes.
Oh,
Okay.
my bad. I'll get that corrected. Rafa, your thoughts?
Yeah, I have Floresville as a favorite. Being they did move down from 5A to 4A. So they have numbers. They probably have depth as well too. So I'm going to give them the edge. Just a little slight edge over Pleasanton because Pleasanton does have tradition of having a soccer. Not saying established soccer program, but they've had soccer for a while. So it'd be interesting for when those two play each other. Number 3, I have Uvalde. Even though the record right now might not speak for itself, but they do play some tough teams, and I think that what gets them ready. And they usually get into, like I said, they'll make a run, they'll get a 3rd seed, or they'll get surprised sometimes a 2nd seed. And then the 4th one, 3rd year in existence, I think Hondo gets in. I think they have the slight edge. If you look at Somerset's really struggling right now, and I think Hondo's gotten to kind of keep wins, and I think maybe this is their breakout year. They should be, like I said, 3 years, have some experience on that team. And I know me and Harry went out to go see them there. They had some raw talent. There was some raw talent on that team. They just, getting a little polish and here and there. They can make some noise, and I just don't see much as far as with Pearsall and Petit yet. I don't think they're just there yet, but hopefully they will, in the near future, and especially with the, who knows with the coming realignment, what's going to happen now. But so those are my 4 picks.
So moving on to the ladies, I think you're up first here, Steve, as far as for District 28 girls.
Okay. So for them, I've got, let's see if I was to rank them, let's see here. I'd probably go Floresville first, Uvalde 2nd, Somerset 3rd, and Pleasanton 4th. And I'm not too familiar with this district on the girls' side, but just kind of based on some of the stuff that I kind of looked over, that's kind of the way I would go with them.
So I went Pleasanton just because I think out of conference they're playing 500, which I think for 4A school is good. Yeah. Uvalde historically has been very good the last couple of years within this district. Hondo, we saw some growth last year, and this being the 3rd year from them, because we went and saw the doubleheader, but like I said here, through there. And then I went with Floresville. Like I said here, just looking at the out of conference, because Pearsall and Poteet have yet to get a win. And Somerset's already in double-digit losses, for that here. So I went with Floresville, but like I said, to be honest with you, I'm not so. I'm not. I don't really. Yeah, I wouldn't bet the house on it by any means,
Yeah.
but like I said here, to me, I feel very confident about Pleasanton Uvalde. How they finished 1 or 2. Rafa probably could break that down a little bit more. But 3, 4, 5, like I said here, I'm not sure Pearsall and Poteet once again through there, but 3, 4, 5, like I said here, I think it's probably take your pick, right, Rafa?
Yeah. This district, like I said, it's been dominated by Uvalde and actually Pleasanton too. So those are probably your top 2 programs there. I'll give the slight edge to Uvalde, but don't be surprised if there's a split here in the home and home. Pleasanton wins at their place, Uvalde wins at theirs. They split the district title. Floresville, I think they'll be in the hunt. I know a couple of years ago they had a big playoff one when they were in 5A, knocking off Steve's alma mater at Jeff, which we picked Jeff to win that game, but we were surprised about that. Yeah, we were surprised. I even talked to some parents from the Jeffs, and they were just like not prepared for that game.
Yeah, that was a shock.
I think but Flores, I think they get the 3rd spot, and then the 4th spot, I'm gonna give it a Hondo. I think they just have a little bit more than Somerset and Poteet and Pearsall. So those are going to be your 4 teams. But I could see maybe a split district title here between Uvalde and Pleasanton.
So moving to 5A, before that here, we'll start out with 5A 26, the ladies. Who wants to go first on this one here? Because this is the powerhouse of all powerhouses of districts.
I can go first. This is the Grupo de la Muerte here in Region 4 for 5A. And last year was a barn burner. It kept you in suspense. And I know talking to Coach Connell last year, it was kind of back and forth. But this year, I'm going to go as far as those are the 4 teams I think that are going to make the playoffs. But as far as your district champ, I'm actually this year, I think they've learned how to play. I think they finally got the experience. I think they learned a lot from last year. But I'm going to go with Piper Lady Warriors. I think they win the district title. It's going to be close. Second, I think it's Smithson Valley. I know they lost a couple of key players, but I think they're still going to be in contention. I would have had Canyon up maybe in the top, also probably in the top 2, but Canyon did lose their leading scorer, and I think she transferred to Alamo Heights, so I'm sure Alamo Heights enjoy having her on the squad. So, but I think Canyon still has enough firepower to get into the playoffs. And then the 4th will be Bernie Champion. They have a new coach there. Recently, I saw that they had a 2-2 tie with McAllen, which was one of the powerhouses for 5A girls soccer in the Valley. And I was a little surprised there that it was a home game for Champion. I thought they were actually winning that game, but I think McAllen tied it up in the last few minutes in that game. So those are going to be my 4 teams going into the playoffs.
Yeah. So last year, go ahead, Harry.
You can go ahead.
Okay. So last year, Smith, like Rafa mentioned, Smithson Valley took it, but for myself, I would pretty much I would do it the same way. I would rank them the same way Rafa did. I would go Piper taking district this year. Smithson Valley coming out 2nd, Canyon 3rd, and Bernie Champion 4th. Yeah.
So I went a little bit different, and the different is I went Kerrville Tivy.
Okay. Yeah.
Last year they had a disappointing year. For here, missed the playoffs here, and me and Rafa kept thinking, hey, they're going to make a run. They're going to make a run. They didn't do it. So, just so that we're not all chalk, I went Kerrville Tivy just to say, through here. But
they were only 1 game out of the playoffs,
yeah.
So they were right there.
But they were slow. But it was late when they closed that gap, though. For that, because they got off to a real slow start. Bernie, to me, it's a flip of the coin. I went Kerrville Tivy just so that way we're not all chalked with it, because I do think Kerrville Tivy is a quality program as well. And like I said here, this is any of these 5 teams, Kerrville, Bernie Champion, Piper, Canyon, Smithson Valley, if they were in any other district, they all would make the playoffs. I think through there. Just with this district here, one gets left out. This year I went Bernie Champion. Just kind of looking at their record right now, and I know, hey, don't get fooled by the record for it here, but that was the flip of the coin here, where just being honest with you is like, hey, I don't want to be like Rafa and Steve.
No, I mean, I like that you threw that through Kerrville.
I think there's a big pressure on Bernie Champion on their new coach. I think she's got some big shoes to fill, and they struggled last year, and especially the year before, they had that big run. Remember, they knocked off Dripping Springs to get into the state tournament. This is a pressure for them, and if they don't deliver and get into the playoffs and go a couple deep, playoffs, rounds deep, they're gonna have a lot of angry, parents over there as far as with the who they hire. So, but like I said, it may come down if Kerrville can kind of get hot and steal some points on the road. That's a big thing. Can they steal points on the road? If they can get a tie here or get a close win, that could probably end up helping them get that the 4th spot or even the 3rd spot.
I will say they did lose their opening match of district, so that doesn't help me out right now. But
yeah. But who's in your corner with these picks, Harry, is Johnny Manziel. If he's watching out there, he's got your back on these picks.
So on the boys' side here, I went Piper, Bernie Champion, Kerrville, and Canyon. I left out Smithson Valley, which is probably crazy talk, but just in hearing some of the rumblings from Rafa, I went with Kerrville Tivy just because, hey, their outer conference record, they got 7 wins already. I haven't heard of any possible drama with them, and I'm not saying there is drama, but just some of the feedback that I've got here, and some of from not only from Rafa but others, that one team's getting left out, and I put Kerrville Tivy again. So I guess I'm part of the Johnny Manziel bandwagon. So number 2, but to me, I'm interested to see Piper. Like I said here, I think Piper can because I think this is the one where they had the lead, and then they fell late in the year, right? Where they were leading, and then they had to play the tough games, and they slipped down to 3rd. I wonder if they can finish the job this year, and then obviously Bernie Champion solid, Canyon solid, for that here. But to me, that 4th slot is going to come down between Kerrville Tivy or Smithson Valley. Based on performance, and they got a draw to start off district play between Kerrville and Smithson Valley. I'm not sure where it was played at, but I do know that there was they drew each other this first round. So if it was at Smithson Valley, it's good for me.
Yeah. Yeah. So
Rafa, your thoughts, or probably Steve, your thoughts?
Go ahead, Steve.
Yeah, I was gonna do my ranking. So I would go Piper first. I would go Bernie Champion second, and then 3rd would be Smithson Valley, and 4th would be Canyon, New Braunfels Canyon, or Comal Canyon would be the 4th. So yeah, I think this is the year Piper finishes district champion, and knocks off, I think it was Bernie Champion that was the district champion last year. So I think it's Piper's turn here.
Yeah, my picks. I have Piper winning the district title. I think they learned a lot from last year, because they were still a young program. Still young players. I think now they have the experience, and we did see them play at the Alamo Heights tournament, and they look solid. They beat a really good and physical Cedar Park team. So I was impressed by what they did there. My number 2 is going to be Bernie Champion. a little bounce back from them from the year before. They had some setbacks, and it actually in the beginning it looked kind of bleak because they lost some non-district games that they shouldn't have, but they're able to get it, piece it together, and make that run for the district titles. But I have them at number 2. 3, this is a toss-up. It can go either way between Canyon or Smithson Valley. Canyon's gonna have to replace Nico Sellers. You know, I mean, just a beast of a goalkeeper, and he's shout out to him out there, and he really did a lot. Kept them in the games, especially like that playoff game too. He kept them in that playoff game. So, but I'm gonna give Canyon the edge, and then Smithson Valley. Like I said, I did see them play too. I think they lost some experience there, like as far as maybe still a young team, but still talented. So those are going to be my 4 teams going into the playoffs for District 26.
Moving on to District 27, boys. I went with Alamo Heights, MacArthur, Jefferson, and Edison. Pretty much went chalk as last year, with the exception I dropped Edson down 2 slots and slid up MacArthur and Jefferson, just for just to have some differences, because there is going to be differences. It's not going to match with what it did last year. I just think Alamo Heights right now is still the class of District 27.
Yeah, I think for district title, I know Alamo Heights did get upset last year by Edison, but they were able to still win a district title, so I think they're the favorites to win this district. And then the other 3 spots in the playoffs, I think it's going to come down to maybe 4 teams. I'm going to give the edge a little bit to Jeff. They're coached well. The one team that's kind of been making noise has been Lanier. Keep an eye on them. They had a big win last night. They got some goal scorers on that team. I know 2 years ago they had another good team, but they kind of splashed out on that first round of the playoffs against Harlandale. But I think this is the year that I think they kind of get it together, make kind of push Alamo Heights to a little bit of the limit. And then the 4th spot, I think it'll come down to Edison and MacArthur, but I'm going to give Edison the edge.
Yeah, I've got Heights. So last year it was, I think it was Alamo Heights first, Edison second, MacArthur third, and Brackenridge actually got 4th over Jefferson. So this year I've got Heights first. I've got Jeff coming back, my alma mater. I've got them finishing in 2nd place. And they've just played Alamo Heights. Alamo Heights beat them 1-0. Alamo Heights already beat Edison 2-1. So Alamo Heights is really the front runner. They're already started off on the right foot. But that being said, look out for Jefferson and Edison to make adjustments in that 2nd round match when they play, Alamo Heights. And we met a gentleman over at the Alamo Heights tournament. He was letting us know that they have a really good solid 11, but they don't really have that a solid striker. And the goal scorers, right? They'll probably put some goals on some of the other teams within the district, but those Jefferson, Edison, Brackenridge, Lanier games are going to have to find goal scorers. And with all the games that they've got in district, 16 games in district, it's not always going to fall in your lap each and every game. So they really got to try to find that go-to player, goal scorer to number 9 to kind of finish it off. So and then my 4th team is the old Northeast team, MacArthur, to get into the playoffs. So, but like Rafa mentioned, I mean, you've got your Laniers, you got your Brackenridge, you got your Burbank, and even Sam Houston, that we saw made a good run a couple years ago. That it's going to be interesting. When you look at these districts, don't just like, oh, who's going to win the district? Well, there's also, you're playing for rights to get into the playoffs. So, It's not just about who's number one, but it's also 2, 3, and 4 to get into the big dance. So that's what you want to punch your ticket into the big dance to get into the big tournament. So, these races for, second, third, fourth, and, all the way down the line here, that's what you're trying to, those are the cool things that we, us soccer nerds like to see is, those matchups as well. The Jefferson and Lanier games, and, not just the top teams for each and every district. But yeah, no, this is going to be a fun one. It's going to be a fun district to follow.
So, District 27 girls. We'll let you go first on this one, Steve, because I'm kind of biased to a certain team on this one here. Unlike Coach Kano, unlike somebody else below me, 50-50 podcast, I picked both the boys and girls on MacArthur. I'm just out there.
Yeah. Well, if I think if Hector was on the pod, he would probably blow that horn, right? That so, but yeah, no, if I'm ranking these, I've got Heights girls number one in this district, and really strong, I think, from what I've seen, MacArthur, the girls team finishing second, and with the team that usually is kind of up there in second place, Jefferson, I've got them falling down to third, and then I've got Edison would probably be fourth. But yeah, look for MacArthur to make some moves in this district as well.
So for me, like I said here, I wanted to put MacArthur number one just for Coach Kano, but just couldn't do it, man. I need at least a year there to see the magic of Coach Kano, with MacArthur. So Alamo Heights number one, MacArthur, Jefferson, I think solid top three. 4, I know Edison's probably the favorite. But I went with Highland Owls just kind of as a different pick for that here. I'd like to see somebody new get into it, but like I said here, so far 2-1 in district, same as Edison. But I'd like to see the Lady Owls make a run into the playoffs and share some of that playoff love, between
yeah, they were fifth last year, so they were right there on the cusp of getting in.
Rafa.
So I have Alamo Heights as one. Like I said, I think they're just the class of this district. Number 2, I'm going with MacArthur. Like I said, I think I think Coach Kano's really. You can tell especially the last 2 games, he's really kind of gotten the best. Really gotten the best of play out of them. They've already scored, I think, 19 goals in the last 2 games, and
in district
games, yeah. And then they had a tough, non-district schedule too. They played some good teams, and maybe not. I know I'm talking to him. Some of the results were kind of gone either way, but they were competitive. So, and like I said, I did see them play when they played against Roosevelt, and good squad. I think they have a good shot to make some noise, and maybe go into a couple playoff rounds. 3, I'm gonna give it to Jeff. I think they've. Last night they did lose to Alamo Heights. They lost 5-0 last night to them. I think they've kind of maybe lost a couple of key players there, but I think they still have enough to get into the playoffs. And then number 4, I'm going to go with Edison. Edison does have some good talented players. I think they just have a little edge more than Highlands and maybe than Burbank. And it could be down to those 3 teams. As far as getting that 4th spot, but I'll give Edison the edge on the 4th spot.
So this is the hairy bracket here. Southwest is my favorite team to talk about here for many, many years. We'll start out with Lady Dragons. I mean, District 28. Southwest, I still got number 1. Although Medina Valley is closing, and they are closing in a hurry, and this goes for both the boys and the girls side. Harlandale, and then I went with Southwest Legacy. As far as for that 4th slot here, I know McCollum's looking pretty good. I know Harlandale, and then what's the other one? Yeah, McCollum's the one that I left out. I know Rafa, you have them in. But to me, I like like Southwest, but to me, it's a flip of the coin between them and McCollum. Steve, it looks like here you kind of went with the same four that I did. Your thoughts on the four selections that you and I, which will be 100% correct.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I actually got to catch a little bit of the Southwest and O'Connor girls game. So I think it was 3-0 O'Connor. This was a couple Fridays ago, and in the Southwest tournament. So I'm going to go with, let's see here. I'm going to go Harlandale, number 1. I'm going to go Southwest 2, Southwest Legacy 3, and I'll go Medina Valley 4. So I saw some good things, some good things from the Southwest girls. I would have liked to seen a little bit more, but I know Harlandale's got a pretty good pedigree as far as on their girls and their boys side. So that's why I would go with Harlandale. Yeah, taking the district. But yeah,
Rafa?
I have, like I said, I have Southwest as 1, but maybe 1A. I think this could be. I could see a split district title with them in Medina Valley. I think Medina Valley, this could be their coming out party before they move up to 6A next year. And last year they played them tough, and this like I said, this could be their year. I know that Medina Valley's played a little tougher schedule because they understand what they're going up against. But like I said, I'm still giving the edge to Southwest for the district title, but I wouldn't be surprised if this is a split title here, between them. And then number 3, I think same thing too. This could be also a split between McCollum and Harlandale. I think those two programs are good up and coming programs. They got some talented players. I've seen McCollum play in the past. They got some great players. I remember they had one of the playoff games I saw covered a couple years ago. Great squad. So those are probably two teams. I'll give McCollum the edge as far as the 3rd spot, and then again Harlandale will get the 4th spot.
And Coach Cano, yes, this thing is on. Your ears must have been burning because we just talked about your program here and how I supported your school on McCollum. Rafa, if you go back and rewatch, not so much here, but we're all good. And then keep a close eye on McCollum. They'll throw a monkey wrench in this district, dark horse, for that here. So just food for thought here from Coach Cano here. Moving to the 28 boys, like I said here, I'll go because this is my favorite district, Southwest. I still have number 1. Medina Valley, though, they haven't played the same schedule as Southwest, so I think this is going to be the discussion for Rafa as, hey, their record looks great, but Southwest, stepped up in competition like he's asked. Harlandale. And to be honest with you, for the 4th one, I flipped between Southside and Eagle Pass. CC win. I went with Eagle Pass just because I think, like I said, with the travel, for them, they are, at least when I've been following, they've been pretty competitive. But it wouldn't shock me if it's Southside that gets in over them on the 4th slot. But I did go with Eagle Pass, CC win, the Mavericks there because they did follow me for a period of time. So. Steve, your thoughts?
Yeah, so I've gone out and seen Southwest in that tournament that they were in, and they are just, man, that's probably the best team that I've seen so far this year. The parent that I was talking to, she was like, well, they're really on tonight. So, there's games where they're, I guess, a little, maybe some inconsistency where they're on one night, maybe off another night. I know that they kind of got roughed up early in non-district against Pflugerville Connolly, but they put some good results together here. So, but speaking of district, is they should be able to take care of business. Probably even win the district 3/4 of the way into district play, and then start preparing for playoffs. Second place, I've got Medina Valley. They've got a good, solid program going over there. A good coach from
Coach
what
Payne.
yeah. So they've got a good thing going on over there. A true soccer coach, right?
Yeah.
So I like the stuff that they're doing over there at Medina Valley, and I've actually got one of my boys that I coach. He plays there for their JV squad. So, but that being said, yeah, I really like what they're doing out there in that with that program. Third, I would go Southwest Legacy, and then fourth, I would go Harlandale. So that's the way I would rank them.
So, Rafa, I feel like this is going to be a conversation from a couple of years ago about Medina Valley, where they've got the great record, but who have they played?
Yeah. As far as with the top spots, it's going to be Southwest. It's been the Southwest Invitational in the last few years. But they may be a little vulnerable because they do have only 3 seniors on that squad. And, they did get hammered by that Conley team, and they did lose to Round Rock. But you got to play the best in order to be the best. And I'm sure they learned from those games, but they had a big one. I think last night, I think they knocked off Laredo Alexander. I think they knocked them out, 6-0. So good bounce back for, statement game for them. So, I think expectations are high for them because they did make it to the regional semifinal, because they did lose to Sherryland, who ended up going to state. But could this be the year they make another run, get to the regional tournament and finally get through and get to that state tournament? We'll see. But I think they have the players, like Steve mentioned, they're very talented. I think they should have no problem winning this district. The other 3 spots, I know last year, remember how we talked about this? Harlandale had an undefeated record for a while, but then they ran into Southwest and they got humbled pretty quick. So, and then maybe that's maybe it'll be the same story with Medina Valley. Like I said, they have a good record. They haven't played maybe the level of competition that Southwest has. And like I said, this is their last hurrah here before they move up to 6A next year, and they'll be entertaining some of the north side schools. And I think they'll make, like I said, I'm going to give them the edge as far as the second spot, but I think it's going to be a battle between them and Harlandale. But also keep an eye out on that Southside team. Southside actually beat Lavernia last night, and that's a big win for Southside, and they could be the kind of like the little boogeyman in this little district, and they could catch you on the you're having a bad night, they may go onto your place and steal a point or may steal a win. So, but I think those are going to be my 4 teams that are going to make out of 28 5-8 as far as making the playoffs.
So moving to 6A, we're going to start with the boys, District 27. I have no clue. Looking at the schedules here, I just, not a lot of games have been played by Cibolo Steel, although they're undefeated. I went with New Braunfels as the first team. Schertz, Clemens, Cibolo Steel, and San Marcos. But to be honest with you, I don't know. This is one of when I was talking to you about districts where I have zero clue on. You could make a case for probably any of these 6 teams to make the playoffs. I think it's that even of a conference, or there's no powerhouse like there used to be. I know Schertz used to be the powerhouse, but the last couple of years the programs or the results haven't quite been there as well. In my opinion, for what they're looking for here. You want to go next, Rafa, or you want Steve to go next with this?
I can go. Even though the record doesn't reflect on it, I still think Clemens is the team to beat in this district. They've played some powerhouses, and they've been in those games, and that's the whole point of playing, like, those big showcases, is to, can you hang with these powerhouse teams from the Dallas area, from the Houston area, Austin. It's only going to prepare them ready for district play. So I'm going to give the edge to Clemens. It's going to come down to them and probably New Braunfels. New Braunfels, like I said, another thing, I know the record's not pretty, but they're playing tough teams, and they're still playing non-district games too, because of playing in a 16 district. So they won't start district, I think, close to the beginning of February. So they have some key. I know there's a key matchup. I think Steele's playing, like, I think San Angelo Central, which means you've got to see them play in that San Angelo Central team, which they had a lot of talent as well. I think New Braunfels got some key games coming in too. So I think those are my top two teams for that district. Three will probably be Steele, and then number 4 will be more likely Judson. I think Judson's got a little bit more than San Marcos in East Central. I know East Central got, I think, snuck in last year, but I think this is Judson's year to get the 4th spot.
Steve?
Yeah, so for myself, I'm gonna go. I'm gonna have Clemens, but I've got Steele right on their tail for me. So I've got Steele second. They put some good results, even including I think it was last night, big 9-2 win, right, against Davenport. From what I saw. So I mean, that's kind of impressive. That's a head turner right there. So, but they've had some good non-district matches so far. So I'm going to have them over New Braunfels. I got New Braunfels finishing 3rd here. And then I've got San Marcos just beating Judson on that 4th spot to get in.
Is there any team that you think that couldn't make the playoffs on here? Because I know there's some that you look at in I hate to say it, but they really don't have a chance. But this one is 6 deep, where you can make an argument for any of the 6 to at least get into that 4th slot, right?
Yeah, and I think that it's pretty open on the bottom half. I think any of these 6 teams can, get in. East Central is usually a team that historically they've got some good years, and then they've got some not so good years. Judson's another team where they've had some some really good teams and not so good teams. But the Clemens, the New Braunfels, those are the teams that are, I mean, you can almost stamp them into the playoffs each and every year. I think Hector's talked about having a really good, the word he uses is culture. And so I think the Clemens, the New Braunfels, you can pretty much, yes, Steele as well, stamp them in almost each and every year, just based upon their strong culture that they've got. And then you've got other programs, like we mentioned, East Central, Judson, that, one year they're good, another year they've got to rebuild. And, it goes like that with some high schools.
So, well, Steve, we'll let you start with 27 girls. You have East Central, Judson, New Braunfels, Steele. How do you order them up there for you?
Yeah, so I've got. I'll kind of go backwards here. So I'll go 4th. I would go Judson. I'll do 3rd place would be East Central. I'm gonna go Steele 2nd and New Braunfels 1st. So, New Braunfels was the district champ last year, so I've got them running it back again this year. And and Steele's got that culture, that pedigree that they've got each and every year. There, you can almost stamp them and up there as well as New Braunfels. So, but yeah, that's the way I would go with this district.
I went with Steele, Clemens, New Braunfels, San Marcos. I think the top 3 are pretty solid as far as the order that they come in. You could probably argue a little bit about that. I went with San Marcos. San Marcos over Judson. kind of a flip of a coin, but I just think, just the history of San Marcos, there's more consistency than there has been with Judson so far.
Yeah, for my picks, I think this is a 3-team race for the district title between New Braunfels, Steele, and Clemens. I actually got to see Clemens play against Harlan. I was impressed by Clemens. Very efficient attack, very good forward, very physical. I know Steele. I saw them last year when they played Los Fresnos. They struggled, but I think they kind of got it pieced together this year. And the New Braunfels, like I said, they usually play the tough teams. They go to the tough district showcases, tournaments. So these 3 teams are always battle tested. So it's going to come. It's like I said, it's a 3-team battle, kind of like what we had with 29 6A with Brennan, O'Connor, and Taft. It's gonna, like I said, we'll see who ends up. But I'm gonna give the slight edge to New Braunfels, and then Steele, and then Clemens, and then the 4th spot. I'm gonna give it to Judson this year.
So I'm going to let Rafa start first on this next district. 28 girls. And I'm going to have him do the 28 boys first as well, just because it's probably one of the toughest districts in the state, in my opinion. You could argue Fort Worth area. Don't get me wrong. There's a couple up there, but
yeah. And then this year you got a couple also dark horses on both sides. Both the boys and the girls. But here with the girls, my 4 teams, I'm going with Johnson. I think they're the clear favorite for the district title. But keep an eye on Reagan. Reagan's undefeated, and they've got some big wins. Not to say Johnson hasn't gotten some big wins, but Reagan's got some big wins. Out in that Woodlands tournament. Another team that I also was impressed because I got to see them when they scrimmaged against Coach Connell's team, Mark Arthur team, was the Lee girls. They were actually the team to beat last year. They had a hot start and then something happened and they basically kind of fell apart and they were able to get into the playoffs, but they just couldn't get it. I think this year they're focused and ready. They're going to be a dangerous team. Like I said, they're going to give Reagan and Johnson a run for their money on here for that, for that top spot. And then the 4th spot, you got some contenders here. I went with Clark. Coach Riggers has a really established program there. She's been there for a while, and I think her experience has enough, I think, to get the Lady Cougars there, that 4th spot. But keep an eye on Madison. They could sneak in and get that, that 4th spot too as well. Maybe even Brandeis too. So, but I'm gonna give the edge. I think the Clark are gonna get that 4th spot.
So for me, and the reason I'm piggybacking off of that, so I think the top 3, Lee, Johnson, Reagan, you could flip a coin to figure out who's going to finish first. I went with Lee just because I think they underperformed last year, but Johnson's right there, Reagan's right there. I went with Madison because right now they're 3-0 in district where Clark is 1-2. And to me, I know it's still a long ways to go, but having 2 games to make up in this district can be very challenging, for that, especially if you're that 4th seed where you've got the 3 elite teams, and then you've got Reagan, you've got Madison, you've got Clark, Brandeis. I think is still solid as well of a program. So I think, to me, like I said here, since Madison's got off to that 3-0 start in district, that's why I put them in as the 4th seed. But go figure on who's going to get the 4th seed. I'm pretty sure on the top 3, but that 4th one, Clark, Madison, or as Steve put in, Brandeis.
Yeah, so I've got Johnson winning district here, and Reagan with a close second, following them up on right on the district title. So so 1 Johnson, 2 Reagan. I'm going to go 3 with Clark. I know Brandeis has not gotten off to a good start so far, but I can, were right there. Like it went down to the final district match last year, so I've got them sliding in. But yeah, like Rafa had mentioned earlier about Lee, they got started on the right foot last year, and undefeated, in their
Had some big
district.
wins too. They knocked off
Yeah,
Johnson, remember?
some great results, and then something, the wheels just fell off the wagon towards the end, and we were kind of like, wow, we didn't know what happened. So, but yeah, but we'll see what happens. I think that this it's even district, like champion first place. I think it could be a toss up. It's this, like Harry had mentioned, it's one of the toughest districts in the state. So, you've got, but it's basically going to come down to 6 teams. I don't see Marshall, Churchill, Roosevelt contending for a playoff spot. So, but that being said, they're coming out to play each and every match, and don't bring your B game against them. You got to bring your A game each and every match.
But that's where, like, and this happens on the boys and the girls side. Draws against those teams, whether it's Marshall, Churchill, Roosevelt, are huge when it comes to that final number count here. Because I remember last year there were a couple of I don't think there were losses, but I think there were just draws that impacted the ranking, the final numbers of the standings.
Yeah, in this district, you gotta it's by points, and I think we probably should have mentioned that in the SAISD district with that it's based off of a win or a loss. You go straight to penalty kicks for that Alamo Heights, MacArthur, Jefferson district, whereas this district, it goes by points. You earn the 3 points with a win, or you get a 1 for a draw and 0 for a loss. So it also kind of that comes into play as well. So, but yeah, that's a good point, Harry. It's almost as if you tie one of the bottom dwellers, it's almost as bad as a loss. You lose those 2 points.
Yeah, if you look at kind of like with the Clark girls, they've lost to Lee and they lost to Reagan, so that was kind of the expected. Not the games are not favored, but they did get the win over Marshall. So, like I said, Madison probably hasn't played the top 3 teams yet.
Yeah, and I did see Clark play earlier this year. About 2. Yeah, like last Saturday, not this past Saturday, the Saturday before, in that Alamo Stadium tournament, and they played against Warren, and it was a 1-0 game. So with like Rafa was saying about Diane Driggers, their team, it's not very flashy, but it's very efficient. What they do is very efficient. It's nothing, like I said, flashy about that team, but they get the job done. They defend together, they attack together, they communicate, and they do all the little things right. So that puts them in a good situation to do well when you've got that efficiency each and every match. So I believe that result was 1-0 over Warren. That being said, Warren didn't have that much of an attack because Clark really shut it down. And Warren's in a very attacking team. Rafa just saw them last night. A slashing, attacking, aggressive team, and they couldn't really figure out Clark. So that's why I have them in the playoffs, because I think over time, as district goes on, it's going to be hard for teams to try to figure that out. So yeah, kudos to the Clark girls.
So Madison's beat Churchill 2-1, beat Roosevelt 4-0, and then to me beat Brandeis 3-2. This week will be a huge tell, for Madison. They play Clark at Gus on Saturday at 5, and Tuesday they play Reagan at Comelander at 7 for that here. So they've done the results that they've needed to. Brandeis is probably their best win in district because that's probably if you're fighting for them at the fourth slot, that's one where getting that early win kind of helps separate that between them and Brandeis. But yeah, they haven't
so
played
maybe
Johnson, Reagan, or Lee yet.
Yeah, so maybe a win against Clark and a tie against Reagan, that would put them in a really good situation, to finish up the first round of district play. And probably still be in contention probably still be, one or two, up there and maybe even, three as well. So to be in that top three spots leading into what you don't want to do is going into the second round of the playoffs. I'm sorry, of district, outside of the top four. You want to, put yourself in a good situation to finish the second round of district play, strong. So, yeah.
Rafa,
especially
go ahead,
just
Rafa,
I was going to say,
boys.
yeah, but before the next one, like I said, especially like the top 3 teams we picked, if you lose points to those teams that are not really favored, like let's say like a Marshall, Roosevelt, or even a Churchill, that can come back and bite you in the butt. And it can cost you a district title, and it can even cost you a playoff spot. So, you have to take care of business, maybe with the teams that are not strong as you, and then, make sure you get the key wins when you play the teams that are favored in the district.
Yeah, because then you got some coaches that want to rest players and this and that and take them for granted. So, then you get into the halftime and it's 0-0 and it's like, man, what the, so yeah, you got to make sure that you're, take care of business, and then you can maybe consider resting players.
Rafa, the boys on 28.
It's another bar burner here, but so the 4 teams I have for playoffs, like I said, I have Johnson, Lee, Brandeis, and Reagan. But I do have a couple of dark horses, which I'll talk about in a bit. But as far as my favorite for the district title, I think it's going to come down between Johnson and Brandeis. I could see them splitting the title. It's a good shot. You could see, maybe see that. Don't sleep on Lee, even though Lee did lose to Brandeis, 2-0 recently. Like I said, Brandeis still has to go play Lee at their place. They're in Comalander or back west. They can probably, get that win back and be back in the title hunt. The one concerning team right now is Reagan. I know they lost a lot of key players from last year's team. Seeing kind of some of the games they played, they did well in that Mojo tournament, but when that Spencer Valley tournament, I was surprised they lost to my old team. That was a kind of eye opener there. Some dark horses here. Keep an eye on Churchill and keep an eye on Clark. Clark gave Lee a game last night. Lee escaped with a 3-2 win. Churchill, historically has been the program. They've been the program, and lately, they've kind of had hidden some hard times. Maybe this is their year to kind of get things together and then surprise everybody. So don't sleep on those 2 teams. The other third teams, maybe Madison. I saw some preseason. There's some on preseason polls. We'll see how that materializes them. As far as if they make a contention for that 4th spot. But those are my 4 teams I think that are more likely going to make the playoffs for 28-6A.
I went with Lee, Johnson, Brandeis. I put Lee first. I just think the pedigree that they have there, the history, hard to go against them. Johnson, Brandeis, you can flip a coin between 3. I did go with Reagan just because in the past, there's been a clear top 4. But yeah, looking at Churchill's results here, how they did in the Austin Lakes Elite Showcase, they proved that they can play. The early loss was a 3-1 loss to Austin Lake Travis, but they beat Houston MacArthur and Grapevine at that. And they did well in the Northeast Northside Showcase here. So to me, this one, it's a juggernaut. if you get an opportunity to go out and watch any of these teams play, it's high quality soccer. Even if it's Marshall versus Reagan, you are going to get quality soccer from all 9 teams in this district here, as well as in District 29 as well, in my opinion.
Yeah, so this district, like, that's a good word for a juggernaut. I mean, whoever finishes 4th in this district, in a lot of districts, could probably be district champion. So each match, I mean, it's almost like the EPL. Like, each match is like a very, even teams that are not going to make the playoffs. Like, each match it's going to be a tough match each and every week, but that's what prepares you for the playoffs. So that's a good thing. So if I'm ranking here, though, I would probably go Johnson first. I would go second is going to be, for me, is going to be Reagan. I think that they're going to kind of get their stuff together and put some results together. Rafa mentioned it earlier, Churchill. I've got Churchill back in. I've got them at third, finishing third in this district. So I see Churchill coming back and with a third place finish here in district. And then I've got Lee rounding it off. I think that they're wouldn't say rebuilding, but maybe kind of reloading for this season. I know that they've lost some players, and Rafa and I saw them play in the Alamo Heights tournament. Of course, I saw them play in the that first match, opening match against Central that we spoke about earlier. So the thing about them, I could tell that they look young, just because of the fact that and I think I told Rafa or someone there, where the jerseys are big on the players, so there's probably sophomores and juniors in those jerseys where a senior, it's going to fit them a little bit tighter, but when the jersey's kind of blowing in the wind, that usually means it's probably a freshman or a sophomore, filling out that jersey, but yeah, so look for Lee to, of course, just because I'm saying that they would be 4th place, they could easily still win district for sure. So it really is a coin flip for this district. So, you're throwing darts to find out who's going to win, district and maybe even, get into the playoffs, because you got teams like, Brandeis is, another strong team. Watch out for Madison, but also for Clark. Clark has got some good players there. To me, they're starting to figure it out, and watch out for them to maybe play, keep one of these teams out of the playoffs because of the fact that they, have get a win against one of these teams, or tie one of these teams. So watch out for Clark when you're playing against them in district.
Yeah, if you look at like I said, watching Lee, like I mentioned, they're young, but they're very talented, and give them some time, and like I said, and also you gotta have faith in Coach Rogers too, of his experience. He's gonna mold this team, and if they make the playoffs and make a good run, keep an eye on them for next year. Next year they're probably gonna be the team. And maybe get back to to Georgetown, but they could upset something. Like I said, I think Johnson and Brandeis can't take, even though Brandeis just recently beat them, they can't take them lightly, because like I said, they can come back and hand them a loss. But like Coach mentioned about Churchill and Clark, that keep an eye on those guys are probably going to be your spoilers. And they're gonna probably don't be surprised there's some upsets in this, and that's gonna knock off some team from getting into that 4th spot in the playoffs.
And here's a question for both of you, and I know you kind of just hit it here, but how important is coaching, not only just in 28, but 28, 29, 27? Can that be a big decider when it comes to these close races as far as experience or tactics along those lines here?
Yeah, it's a big thing. Your leadership and your experience really has to feed off onto the players, and they have to buy into what you're trying to do. And and those will come back. And if you notice, when you go into the playoffs, the ones with the coaches with the better pedigree, those are the ones that you're seeing in the in the regional tournaments or in the state tournaments. You know what I mean? You look like a program like Wakeland, for them to be in the state tournament 6 out of the last 7 years says something a lot. And it comes down to coaching. They don't, like I mentioned, they don't rebuild, they reload. They're able to kind of piece things together and get the players in the right positions. And that's what I'm seeing with some of these couple of teams here. And if they have the right coaches, then they're going to go far in the playoffs.
Yeah, coaching plays a huge factor in the fact that not only in-game decisions, right? Trying to figure out, well, first off, who would be in their starting 11 and where to make adjustments here and there, reserves and such. But also in between matches, how can I, after you watch the game footage, what are you looking for? If you've got a coach that knows what to look for as far as, okay, we didn't do very well defensively, or we didn't do, we weren't connecting offensively, and go back and watch that footage and then practice that. And you don't have a lot of turnaround time, going from a Tuesday to a Friday, but, at least watch that film with your team and, make sure that you get that corrected and identify that. So, but the coach has to see that. The players aren't going to usually see that. But so coaching is really big. It's very, key and crucial to making sure that, making that difference between a true soccer coach compared to, maybe someone that coaches another sport and then comes in to coach the soccer team. So it's a big impact. You should have known the answer to that, Harry, asking two coaches, but
Well, that's why I asked it. But that's why I asked it is because of that. So I'm going to let you go with District 29 because I do know you are part of the coaching system, part of the academy system. So you probably see quite a bit of these athletes, both at the high school level as well as outside of the high school on the club side here. But 29 boys, you listed in alphabetical order: Brennan, Harlan, Taft, and Warren. How do you see this district on the boys' side turning out?
So I haven't seen all the teams. I saw Harlan last night. I saw Warren. I've seen Warren twice. I've seen Taft. So the way I would rank this district, and there, to me, there's actually 5, maybe 6 teams in this district that can, make that run into the playoffs. But the 4 that I selected is going to be, and in the order, I'll go Harlan for me, number 1. Very offensive-minded team. They were playing against a very offensive-minded team with Warren last night, but I mean, Warren couldn't really do much because of the fact that Harlan played really strong defensively as well. And then when they got the ball, they were pretty efficient with it to make, they had a lot of shots. I mean, kudos to the Warren goalkeeper, especially playing on the slick field at Gustafson, making some, key saves, but it wasn't enough. Harlan looked like they reloaded from last year. So Harlan looks very, very strong. I'm going to go Brennan, number 2 in the district. I'm going to go 3 with Warren. And then I've got Taft just barely getting in there at number 4. But that being said, I would watch out for the John Jay Mustangs. They've put some really good results together. They've got a very strong player up top with Delamu Reeves playing up there. So watch out for John Jay to get into the playoffs as well.
So for me, I went with Warren. I know they had the loss. I think it was yesterday, right? That they lost here. I went with John Jay. I'm drinking the tea of John Jay for that here, the soda, whatever you want to call it. I think, to me, confidence in the high school built, and their football team did very well, built confidence in the school. Soccer teams of both boys and the girls have had early season success, and to me, there's something that comes on that when you have a school that feeds off that. I went with Taft, and then I went with Harlan. Harlan's been such the dominant team for so long that I think they're going to take a step back now. I still think that they make it comfortably into the playoffs for that here. I had Brennan on the outside at this point here. They've got off to 2 draws, which is part of the reason why I left them out, because this is a district that we see every year, that there's one team that they don't lose, but they also don't win, and they ended up with a lot of draws, and that always impacts them on making the playoffs, where they are probably a playoff team. And I know we're a week in, so this is way too early to be making these predictions. But to me, like I said here, I bumped John Jay, probably bumped him up a little bit too high. But I do like Warren, I like Taft, and I like Harlan as 3 solids. And to me, it's John Jay or Brennan. And to me, John Jay's got that momentum. And until they lose that momentum, I'm going to ride the Mustangs. Rafa, your thoughts?
So my picks, I know I don't want to have pick has kind of struggled a little bit.
O'Connor.
This is, like I said, O'Connor, but I think eventually, like I said, they lost to like Harlan, and then they lost a tight one with John Jay. Like I said, they lost to them 1-0. So no shame on that. I still think, like I said, Coach Bledsoe, I think he's still, from what I saw from last year, I'm going to even talk to some of the parents. I got to hang out with them. Well, me and Steve got to hang with them last year on one of the playoff games. They had some talent on that team. I think Coach Bledsoe will figure it out. I think they'll get back in it. So I have O'Connor in the playoffs. John Jay, I think John Jay's. I think they're going to be the surprise team this year. We also have Warren. I know Warren kind of took one. Like I said, Warren's not a bad team. They just, like I said, Harlan really kind of, Harlan took it to the next level in that second half. Because Warren was in the game, and actually it was an evenly matched game. They just had one mistake when that keeper kind of fumbled the ball because of the slick conditions, and Harlan took advantage of that. So keep an eye on them. And then Harlan, like I said, I have them in the district. As far as rankings, Harlan's probably more likely going to win the district title. I think John Jay's going to get the second spot. I really think that they have enough to contend. I think they may have a little bit more than Warren. I think Warren will come in third. And then I think O'Connor will bounce back, get that 4th spot. But don't be surprised. There'll be other contenders. Taft, I've seen Taft. They got some talent on that team.
Yeah.
If they can get some upset wins, some key point games on those quote unquote away games, that can help them out. Also Sotomayor too. Don't sleep on them. I saw them for a half last night against Holmes, and when I left, they were winning 2-0 at the half. They were able to play. They had some good plays. They have a really good strong forward up top. So don't sleep on them. They could, I think after already a year of experience, I know they took some bumps last year. I think this year that they're kind of get it together, a little bit white, a little older, learn what how I guess I feel what the district's like. So, keep an eye on them. They could be also a dark horse too, but those are the 4 teams I have for my playoff spots.
And I would love to say, hey, O'Connor, because AJ's couple of his best friends are on O'Connor, so I would love to see them sneak in. And obviously, AJ playing for Stevens. Come on, Stevens, you got your first victory in district, so we can do it. But I can't pick you as of yet.
Two things real quick, Harry. So I was at the Harlan Warren JV game today. So shout out to Warren for getting a little bit of revenge. They won 1-0 against at Harlan this afternoon. So, and then tonight's result, O'Connor actually boys beat Taft 2-1. So you're not out of it yet, Rafa.
Yeah.
And speaking, Stevens beat Jay as a kind of a get back last night because the varsity on Jay beat Stevens 5-2.
Okay.
Tonight, Stevens beat John Jay at John Jay 3-1. It ended 10-10. 2 red cards, one for each team, both on last man. Clean foul. They were fouls, but good job by the referee. They weren't vicious, but yeah, last man defending and referee called it. And fair calls, but fun games for both of those. Proud of AJ getting an assist on the second goal, controlling the ball and giving a good outlet pass. But ladies, District 29. I put Taft despite the hiccup week 1. Warren, Sotomayor, and John Jay probably drinking a little bit of the John Jay juice again because they did upset O'Connor. So, like I said, I'm big on that. And then Sotomayor, Warrior, and Taft here. But to me, I think Taft is the team for 29 to kind of look out for. And in my opinion, I think can make a deep run into the playoffs for that here. And Rafa or Steve, whoever wants to go next.
I can go first. Yeah, so my 4 teams for as far as my playoff spots, I have Taft, Warren, Soto, and Sotomayor and Brennan. As far as my district champ is, even though that little hiccup they had against Brennan, it's going to be Taft. Then the second spot, I think, might be a little dogfight. Last night, like I said, me and Steve did get to watch the Warriors, and Steve told me, "Hey, keep an eye on number 10." Yeah, she really impressed me. She really was the motor behind that offense and kept everything in check, and everything kind of flowed through her. And then they have a really sneaky number 7. She got the brace last night, which was enough for them to get that 2-1 win over Harlan. So I think they want to build upon what they did last year, because remember last year they made a run too to get a couple wins to cover the top teams to get that 4th spot and take it away from Sotomayor. But I think Warren's going to be up there. I think for the second spot, it's going to be coming down between Brennan and Warren. So it was tough to kind of pick the 4th spot to leave out O'Connor, but I think Sotomayor has enough, I think, this year to finally, because they were in contention last year. They just kind of fell short of one game. So I think they get the 4th spot. O'Connor, they're struggling a little bit. Can they get it together? I know Steve will probably mention them because he's seen them play. Can they get it together? So I don't rule out maybe O'Connor getting that 4th spot from Sotomayor, but I think it's going to come down to those two. But I think I'm going to give the edge to Soto.
Yeah, for myself, I'm going to go Taft number 1. I think that they kind of hopefully that tie kind of woke them up, and I think that we'll see them do what the Taft girls have been doing, the last couple of years. So I've got Taft district champions. I'm going to have Brennan at number 2, but it's going to be a good little fight between them and Warren, like that Rafa mentioned, that number 10. I believe her name's Addie Cooper, sophomore. And I believe she was wearing the captain's band as well, as a sophomore. So that kind of tells you, where that player is. And not only that, they've got a very young team. So look out for, maybe when after this year, that might be a Warren team that's, vying for district for the next couple years. They've got another girl that actually trains with me at Premier and at 78 Soccer Training, Chloe. So that's another player that they've got some good players there out at Warren. And the other cool thing that I saw about number 10, Addie Cooper, when they were playing against Clark, motivating players. One of her players had made a mistake or this or that. She didn't get after her. She picked her up verbally by telling her, "Hey, it's okay. Like, we'll get the next one." Like, so that kind of stuff, like that goes a long way with me in regards to, being an all around good player. And then that puts her in a good situation later on down the road when, college recruits are going to be going out there. Like, she's just doing it, that's just probably in her nature to do stuff like that and pick up players and being, a team captain at an early age, a sophomore in school. So kudos to her. But yeah, then I've got, I have Harlan there at 4th. I made these picks probably 2-3 weeks ago. So that, and they've kind of gotten, started off, I think they're 0-3 right now. So, that might not be, a good way to get into the playoffs, but, we'll see if they can kind of turn things around. But another team that I would consider would be John Jay. So that would be another team. And then Rafa mentioned Sotomayor as well. So that would kind of round off this district for teams that I think that would be making the playoffs come March.
So I'll probably do a short on the standings because we're already 2 hours in, and it is a work night, so I don't want to keep you guys much longer. Final thoughts, like I said here, hopefully this was fun, for everybody. Like I said, if we didn't name your school, it's not because we don't like you. It's just we're taking random. To me, I'm taking random guess half the time. Especially for that 4 slot, because you could make an argument for 2 or 3 teams in a lot of these districts here. But Steve, thank you for coming on. Rafa, always a pleasure with you. Any final thoughts that you have, Steve, and then followed up with Rafa, and then we'll get on out of here?
Yeah. So final thoughts. With all the weather that we've been having lately, I know it's probably made it difficult for administrators and leaders of the school district to get these games in. So, I think that they did a good job to get these games in with all the rain. And, still, I think when we started this podcast, I can hear, the rain coming down still. Yeah. So, even, the parents being flexible as well to, like last night, they were there till probably 10:30 or so out at Gustafson. To try to, they just, what they don't want to do is tear up their grass fields early in district. And then, you got to try to get that fixed, and it probably wouldn't get fixed. So, kudos to them, to the districts, to make sure that they reschedule those games and still get those games in on, artificial turf fields. So, but yeah, it's not an easy thing to do. So I just wanted to, recognize all the back work, operational stuff to get all those games in and not have to, play 2 or 3 games in a spring break week at the end of the district play. So, that's all I've got.
So one comment before Rafa starts here. Nick, Harlan girls won't be close to making the playoffs here, and don't rule out O'Connor. They beat Harlan 2-0, and we'll see with the Sotomayor O'Connor game. So, Steve, you're already catching flack, man.
Like I said,
welcome to the club.
But O'Connor did lose to Jay. And that's
first time ever. First time ever.
Yeah. So Jay kind of made a statement on there. Like I said, it was tough kind of picking those last spot between them, like O'Connor, Jay, and Soto. Like I said, I think Soto's kind of been, I think they have a good chance this year after what they did last year as a first-year varsity team. So, they got something they can build upon. But you got to give it to Jay too. They really kind of took a lot. I'm a little kind of surprised how that little slow start that O'Connor had, but I'm sure that, like I said, they did have a coaching change. It does take a while, adjusting to a new coaching, coaching system, so forth. So, but it's going to be, like I said, that district's always fun. Like I said, last 3 years, the top 3 teams, pretty much beat on each other, and it came to the last game who won the district title. But my final thought, I guess, is just to the players out there, especially those the college process, like the recruitment and so forth. advice, me coming working, actually, like I said, I work in admissions. I'm a senior admissions counselor. Like I said, I know people say yes, grades are important, but also make sure you're applying to your schools. Make sure you're sending your FAFSA. I know students are having a little trouble with the FAFSA right now, so talk to your financial aid office wherever you're applying to. If you haven't been recruited, go to some ID camps. There's some great ones coming up. You can reach out to me. I can let you know, like the UHV where I work at. We're having two of them in February, so attend those. But anything with recruitment, make sure you're meeting with the right people who actually work for those companies, like the recruitment, the videos, and getting the advice from people who are that background, with that work in the universities or the coaching staff and so forth, and that way they can lead you in the right direction and so forth. But that's my advice for the students. And I know we have some signing days coming. I think signing day is coming up in a couple of weeks. And congrats to those who have already committed to the universities for next year.
And I'm going to put this out here, and I know Coach Cano, on here saying fog across Central Texas, rainiest January on record, and Texas high school soccer is here. But he runs a great podcast, the 50-50 podcast, that deals with college, high school, and a lot in that player recruiting, just that entire process. If you want to go to college, check out his podcast, and I think he's been doing it for 2 years at this point here, or on year 2. He's been doing it for a while. If you have interest in it, you can reach out to the 50-50 podcast, reach out to Coach Connor, reach out to Rafa, and I think there's a few others that are also pretty actively on that account. Reach out to Steve, that can do that. I don't know much about the process, so don't reach out to me. I'll refer you to them. They are more the experts when it comes to that. So there is a bunch of resources that players have available, where you don't just have to go onto YouTube and try to figure it out yourself. Coach Cano, being a high school coach, knows it. If it's not something that he doesn't know, or something that he can't really go into because he is a coach, he can point you in the direction of somebody that has more knowledge, or that is able to kind of give you that advice for that here. So please use the resources that you have available, whether it's us or anything along those lines. Did you have anything, Steve, that you wanted to add on to that, or no?
No, I think y'all hit it.
So for everybody with San Antonio Soccer Roundtable, Rafa, Steve, me, and Coach Cano, thank you for tuning in. Thank you for tuning in, Nick, for your comments. Hope everybody has a wonderful day, and we'll see you, I believe, next week, probably 7:30, 8-ish in that time frame. Probably shouldn't be a 2-hour show, but this was kind of a spinoff here, doing the playoff predictions here. So
yeah, we'll have hopefully have the coach from the girls from the Bernie Geneva and the couple players, and then I think some RPIs might be coming up soon.
Oh,
I don't have some RPIs coming for 50-50 this weekend, so it's for statewide. Right. But
that's Sunday, right? Usually Sunday afternoon.
Yeah, Sunday afternoon. So yeah, 3:00. So I think 3:00, somewhere around 3:00. So be on the lookout for that. But yeah, for San Antonio area, I'll have some new RPIs. I just wanted to wait a while, kind of let everything kind of get to after the tournaments and showcases and the kind of the district games. And now we'll see who's number one now. So there might be some changes now, like you mentioned, Harry.
It's not going to be the same one. I'll just leave it at that. I already know that here. So, but what's life without goals?
It might surprise you.
We're out of here. Hope everybody have a wonderful evening and stay dry. Don't drive through the big puddles.
Good night.